Hello, everyone. I'm Mandi Hutchinson,
And I'm Ashley Gariepy.
and today we're going to be doing a brief game overview and review of the game Star Scrappers Orbital. It's currently on Kickstarter, which is ending on November 21st, 2020. Please note that this is a prototype, so rules and components are not final. So, without further ado, let's let Ashley take us through a brief overview of the game, but you'll see my hands in the shot. Let's take a quick peek.
In Orbital, players act as the owner of a space corporation, competing to build the biggest, best, and most beautiful space station in the universe. A game of Orbital is played over 5 rounds. During a round, players take turns performing one action at a time until all players pass consecutively. The actions a player may perform on their turn include build a module, play an event card, buy cards from the market, operate a module, make repairs, or upgrade. Build. Build a card from your hand, also called a module, by paying 6 mega credits, which is the currency used in Orbital. Then the card is added to your personal orbital or your space station, such that the new module's entrance with the in arrow is placed at the exit showing an out arrow of the module you want to build from. Play an event card. Play an event card from your hand and perform its effect. Buy cards from the market. The cost of a card in the market is between 1 and 5 mega credits, depending on its position. The card furthest away from the draw deck costs 1, whereas the card closest to the deck costs 5. Operate a module. With some modules, you can spend crew and sometimes money to perform the effect listed on the card. However, each module can only be used once per round. Make repairs. Over the course of the game, some modules might get damaged, so you can spend 3 mega credits to remove a damage token from a module. Upgrade. Once per game, you may spend 4 mega credits to upgrade your core module, which will have a special effect or will give you a bonus for the rest of the game. If you can't or don't want to take an action, you may instead pass and can still take actions later in the round so long as all players haven't passed consecutively. When all players do pass consecutively, the round ends, victory points are awarded to the player with the most non-damaged modules in each color, and players get new crew, more money, and more cards. Additionally, damage tokens are removed from all modules at no cost. Then a new round begins. The player with the most points after the 5th round of play wins the game.
Okay, so we've had the game overview. Now we are ready for the review of Star Scrappers Orbital. Okay. I don't want to give it away, but I don't care. I'm going to say it. I really liked this game. I will be honest, going in, I was like, okay, another space game. Yay, another card game. Yay. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, is this going to wow me? I actually quite enjoyed myself. What about you, Ashley?
I will give spoilers because it's a review and we're allowed to do that, Mandi. And I will say that I too went into it a little hesitantly. But I also really, really liked the game, and I was very pleasantly surprised. I think for me, what surprised me the most was how quick and how smooth everything was. Like it felt like a very thinky experience with a lot of like engine building and the tableau building and even like placing the cards and that sort of spatial puzzle. It was all very, very thinky. But it played so quickly, especially with, we played with a lower player count. And yeah, I really liked that. What did you think of the engine building or the puzzle or all that stuff?
Well, and that's it. And when you look at the components, there are not a ton of components. It's very simple looking, right? So I did enjoy that. And I'm not particularly good at engine building, but I definitely think if you like that sort of thing, this will be a game you enjoy. We were going into it knowing that this is one of the designers for Terraforming Mars, so I already kind of had some ideas in my mind. Is it going to be similar to that? And I mean, sure, we can pick a few things here and there that might be slightly similar, but no, I definitely think it's a different game, and it definitely falls into a different realm, I guess. Do you know what I mean? So like, you may have a night where you're like, oh, let's play Terraforming Mars, but that's a really big game. That's a whole different type of game versus getting into, this game. It's you're still getting that burn in the brain, but in a shorter amount of time, and I think people can appreciate that.
I would 100% agree with you. I think that knowing it's by the same designer, you can feel the essence of Terraforming Mars in it, but it's not just Terraforming Mars, the card game, right? And Mandi, you and I have spoken about, I don't want to draw too many comparisons to Terraforming Mars, but I'm going to do it just for a smidge. You and I have spoken about Terraforming Mars and how we both liked the game and the design, and we had no problems with it. Other than that, there was a lot of setup, and it felt long to play, especially at higher player counts. And with this, we got the essence of I personally got the essence of what I liked in Terraforming Mars in a quicker, faster playing time. Like, no setup, the engine building's there, the game ramps up like Terraforming Mars does. So your first round, you're probably only going to do a few actions. But then once you get to that last round, you're firing combos off and you're just like action left and right?
Exactly. And it looks, and like coming back to what I was saying about it looking simple, there were times where it was like, oh yeah, I'll just put, this card here. Oh, it's fine. I got lots of spaces, lots of room. And then I'm like, oh, after a while, like I can't just be willy-nilly about the cards I'm picking. I actually have to pay attention because placing it here now has blocked off a whole section. So it tricks you in that way of making it look like it's simple, but no, you do actually have to have that thought process while playing.
What did you think of,
It's tricky for us, right? Because we did play this virtually. So on over like a Discord phone call, so definitely makes it a bit more, it makes it different, and it's a card game, so it does make it a bit more difficult. You definitely want to pay attention to what other people are doing. Some games you can just live in your own little world and just worry about your own board. Well, no, because in this game you have cards that can affect you. So if in the market you're seeing, for example, oh, there's a card that could, injure your base or something to that effect, maybe you want to get it before your competitor does. So you kind of want to pay attention to those sorts of things because it come back and bite you, and then, hey, you just lost points. So I definitely think, yes, you're looking at your area, but you are also looking what other people are doing. What did you think about that?
I would agree with you 100% for what you said, especially for the event cards, like you said, because they can really bite you. Sometimes you just need to buy one just to prevent everybody else from hurting you. But I also really liked the end of round scoring and how you were comparing your progress and your space station or orbital to that of those of your opponents. And then it prevents people from just sort of like grabbing all of one type of card, right? Because each card has its own specific sort of design element and mechanism. Like some cards are good for getting money and some cards are good for getting more crew. So it prevents, by having that comparative aspect at the end of every round to score points, you're preventing one player from taking all of the money cards, for example. They might be trying to build an engine around that, but you're still, you're like, okay, well, you're going to go for the yellow, so I'm going to go for red and orange kind of thing, and you get points that way. So I liked that player interaction.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And there is something I did find lacking, and again, this is a prototype. I need a player aid. Yes, granted, there are not very many actions, but trying to remember everything, it would be very helpful to have that versus having to keep going back to a rule book. So I'm hoping that is something they include. I don't know if you felt the same way about that, Ashley, but
I would agree. Just because some of the actions, they require different amounts of money, right? And so like for somebody who's already trying to just like focus on a strategy and focus on how they want to build their engine, having to remember that money thing, especially in the first couple of rounds, can be a lot sometimes. So it's nice to have that reference there where you're like, oh yeah, I can do this. And even just to say like, oh, remember that action is possible for you to do, because sometimes in early rounds you're not going to do as many of the operating actions, for example, but then later you're like, oh yeah, this is all I want to be doing. So yeah, I think a player aid would be very helpful.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a big pusher for that in any game, but especially I think it would be helpful to have. So, I mean, overall, I really enjoyed this game. Like I said, I went into it half expecting to like it, but I really enjoyed it. So I definitely think this is one. It's in that kind of time spent playing that I think people will be likely to gravitate. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to alienate. So you're going to get the people who maybe like a shorter gameplay, but then you're also now those people like, oh, I like a bit of that thinky engine building type game, and this will do that for you. So I quite enjoyed this.
I concur. I thought this game was quite fantastic, and like you, I went into it a little bit, I'm not sure, but it really surprised me, and I really, really liked. I liked the gameplay, and the mechanisms were solid.
Right. Well, there you have it. We both enjoyed it. So just remember, it is on Kickstarter until November 21st, so you can go and check it out. So that is our review of Star Scrappers Orbital. Thanks so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Bye.